We're happy to be in Liberty Village in Toronto at the Universal Music Canada office. And I'm pumped to be sitting down with Zach and Brandon from Rise Against. Fellas, how's it going?
It's good. It's good.
Great.
We were just saying before we started here that you guys have been signing a lot of pictures, and it's not making you too tired, I guess.
No, we're gearing up for the big album release, and so we're doing a whole bunch of stuff for it. So it's it's good.
Last night, you guys did a special kind of Q&A with your fans. How did that go here in Toronto?
It was great. You know, Zach and Tim played some songs acoustically, and we all sat up there and answered some questions, and honored people showed up, and we did it in this beautiful museum, the MoCA. And the setting was amazing.
It's awesome.
I loved it. Museum
of Contemporary Art here in town. I guess it's a newer building for them, or it's an old building but newer location for them. The unfortunate thing is, I go to art museums on my days off. I like to go and just zone out. And we didn't get to go into the building and everything. But we all kind of showed up. We flew in yesterday, so. Again, we're this album rollout is we're just kind of going. So we all flew in and then just had to go pretty much straight to the thing and just people are already there and everything. So yeah.
So were there any kind of eyebrow raising questions from the fans? Like it sounds like it was, or did your team kind of filter it out a bit?
Fan question. It was mostly just being interviewed by
the moderator.
Straightforward.
Cool. We've done a few of these. We've done a few of these, and we did one in Berlin. And there was a whole fan portion with the fans are going to ask you some questions. And I don't exactly remember all those, but they were pretty in-depth, And sometimes if it's an odd thing where they get a chance to ask, maybe they're a fan of our band and they can ask us anything, and they'll ask, boxers or briefs or whatever. You're like, seriously, you're going to ask that right now? So anyway.
That interaction with your fans, and it sounds like it was really cool and kind of an intimate chat last night. And we'll dig into the new music a little bit after, but I think that points to some of the message of the new music as well, that face-to-face and as opposed to like an online stream, that sort of thing. And the fact that you invited us in here today to do a face-to-face interview as opposed to hopping on Zoom or anything like that. Maybe talk about that a little bit and how it's important, I guess, for you guys to interact kind of directly and engage directly with your fans.
We started out like a punk band in a van playing clubs, so we're used to being close to the fans and hanging out with the fans, and it's comfortable for us and gives them a chance to get to know us, ask questions about the music, and like I said, they got to hear these guys play some songs stripped down, which is really cool. The band's been together 25 years. At this stage of the game, people still want to show up and be in a room with us and ask us questions and things like that. So it's far be it for us to be kind of all high and mighty about that.
Well, I know a lot of fans are going to be making the trek to Burl's Creek, Ontario for All Your Friends Fest tomorrow, so we're excited to cover that. Are you guys going to be kind of in and out there, or are you going to be able to check out some of the other artists at the festival?
We're usually the last ones to know, or the last ones to pay attention to what is briefed to us. We're just kind of all texting each other like, dude, when are we supposed to go over there? I think that's more of just our own sort of lackadaisical nature and goofing off. So I will tell you this, when we get there, if there's some bands that are in fact our friends, we'll go see them play. But as far as all of our friends, I don't know if they're all going to be there.
The whole crowd, it's All Your Friends Fest, so everyone's going to be your friend.
They're over there watching.
Won't be there at 10 a.m. if that's
that's for sure.
And speaking of some of the bands that are going to be opening up and playing in the afternoon, that sort of thing. So you guys were there before, earlier in your career. Now you're headlining festivals. Obviously, you've been doing that for a while. But what, prepping for a festival, an outdoor gig like this, how does it compare to, when you started, when you were one of the opening bands, to now being one of the headlining bands?
Not much. If you're playing at noon or 1, or you're the breakfast band, or you're headlining, always trying to play well and try to, the fans are coming to see you play, so you always want to, do everything you can. But as far as preparation, maybe we play longer.
Yeah, sure.
Play later at night. Sometimes they put us on at midnight, and we're older, so that's coming.
There's times when we envy those people that are they're done in the middle of the day, and they're just fucking off.
They're hanging out at catering, and they're like, "What time are you playing?" We're like, 12:30. It gets a little.
Well, we're camping
But-
right on site with this one, so if you guys go on at 12:30, we don't have too far to stumble. So
I think
if
we
it
play
happens,
at 9:30.
I think it is.
yeah, I think it's
something
9 or 9:30.
Yeah, something like that. Which that's a lot nicer. There's some festivals in Europe though. You go on super late, and we had some friends just here a few weeks ago. They went on at 2 a.m. Like they went on, and we were just kind of like, guess what? You know, I love you. I know,
catch you in the
but
morning.
I ain't gonna be at your gig.
Right. So let's dig into Ricochet. Your first album in 4 years, 10th studio album overall, and it's coming out in August. And I was talking to Nicole, the bass player for Incubus, and I was kind of asking her some questions about their new album. And the only thing that's known about that is the name of it. So she was kind of like, it's kind of like talking about the movie with kind of ignoring the plot. But with you guys, we know some of the plot. There's some tunes that are out. Nod, I Want It All, Prize Fighter. So those are obviously good samples of what the whole overall album will be bringing, right?
I mean, they are and they aren't. We did kind of swing for the fences creatively with this one. So those are good examples. But, we've talked about it a few times. Every song's a tad different. There's not one cohesive picture of this record, and I think that was sort of intentional. Again, you mentioned us being our 10th record. Well, for us on the inside of it, me and him, it's like it's our 10th record. It was time to try something differently, and that means everything from our producer to our studio choice to the way we recorded it. A lot of it's us in a room,
down to like the way we like at least my tune my instrument,
exactly.
set my drum set up. I mean, we like went for
everything was down to the wire. Yeah. With us being in a room in the studio at all times when he's recording or I'm recording or whatever, we've never done that. And so there's not, in my head, there's not really one cohesive through line, musically from this record, other than the fact that it sounds like Rise Against, and we're going to sound like us no matter what you give us. It's just when Tim opens his mouth, we sound like Rise Against. When he plays drums, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that,
Yeah, I was listening to an interview, and I think it was Tim that said it. So speaking about Tim opening his mouth, but no, he mentioned that this is, he talked about the 10th record, great milestone, but he talked about really being able to do whatever you want now.
Yeah.
10 albums in. So what you guys just mentioned, is that what Tim was kind of referring to, or is there themes, I guess, that you're willing to push the boundaries? I mean, you guys have always pushed boundaries, I guess, with your music, but
yeah, I think
I guess you have a little more freedom.
Yeah.
When you've been a band for 25 years, and also you don't want to miss opportunities. We've been in this band so long. It's like, let's try something new. Let's do something new. Something maybe that would have been more risky, I guess. Like
absolutely,
3 or 4 records ago. And I know me and him, been in the band forever, and it was nice to let's do this, type of song, or let's play this type of beat, or let's maybe play music at different tempos, or let's try little things that are maybe out of the norm for us a little bit, but still very Rise Against. And it was refreshing, and I think you got to take those chances,
absolutely.
Album number 10, time to take the chances,
Well, because, yes, you have to think about the fan and all, but you also kind of have to think about yourself.
Right,
you kind of have to do one for yourself.
Right.
It's like, well, okay, but what about us? What I mean? Like,
at some point, you have to be a little selfish too. Like, we're also playing the songs every day and want to record different types of music at some point. And so, album number 10, so let's do it.
And to be frank, we're a band, we're very lucky. We have a set list full of songs that we've either got videos to, or we're singles at some point, or like a fan that's a fan of Rise Against, they want to come and hear there's like 9 of them now. So realistically, there's maybe 2 from each record you're going to even get the chance to play live. So for us, our way of thinking of it was like, well, fuck, let's just, let's swing for the fences here. You know what I mean? We're probably not going to be playing them live anyway, a lot of these. And so let's make a record for us. Again, it's in my head, my mind's eye, it definitely sounds like a creative swing. To other people, it's probably just going, it sounds like Rise Against,
Right. So from what I've read, I guess, digging into more the theme, I guess, of the album too. So what I understand, you guys are asking your listeners to kind of consider who ultimately benefits from some of the division and displeasure that's going on in the world, and to look before you leap, to think about the consequences of actions have on each other, and as power structures that prod us remain preserved and protected. So it sounds like this is kind of like a rallying call, that kind of a message, I guess, to your fans and to the listeners. But you guys have kind of carried that kind of a message throughout your career. And I was thinking it speaks to the name of your band, Rise Against.
Yeah,
that's who you guys are, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's far be it for us to speak for what Tim's intentions are with his lyrics, because we don't write lyrics. And I said it last night at the event. I think it's a good way to answer this. Is like, Orwellian politics and Orwellian views are unfortunately always relevant, especially in our country. And so I think Rise Against stays relevant because Tim does sort of use that sort of idealism and that imagery and post-apocalyptic things, and this is what things could be if you want to. Those are themes in our music that are really relevant right now, unfortunately, and unfortunately they kind of stay relevant. So I think that's sort of the point. There's hope in it as well, I think with every song there's a bit of hope. Can sound pretty bleak, the overall messages of the records. I don't know if there's one current theme or message for this one so much but again, it's hard to speak for him. When we get asked lyrical questions, we're both just always like, well, shit, I don't know, what I mean? We trust him implicitly, or there are those bands where guys have just real opposite political beliefs, and I don't know how that works.
Yeah, that's...
You know what I mean? Like, you have to live with this guy,
Yeah, we're pretty politically...
Well, and that's interesting, too, because you guys are a band, and
right.
Just because you don't write the lyrics, but you guys are still a team and a force, and you have to, I guess, ideally, you have to stand behind the whole collective,
the band
right?
kind of started during Bush, during, George W., which we sort of dived into that Iraq war at that point. So, I mean, it's just never-ending things to talk about politically. And I think Tim, always having all these political lyrics gives kids courage to stand up for something, or maybe go try to change their community or something. It's
Absolutely.
Even too, obviously we're huge fans of going to live music, and your music is so, despite what maybe some of the meaning behind the lyrics are, the music is what brings it all together and brings that positivity, brings that energy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have plenty of fans that aren't political at all.
Absolutely.
They're just there to have good times, we welcome them all,
Which is evidenced in the fact that when we do take some sort of overt political stance, like fuck Donald Trump or whatever it might be, you get people going, well, you just lost a fan. It's like, how the fuck did you not think that, where have you been? It's like when people get pissed at Tom Morello for saying something like that, it's like, who did you think?
People tag you on Instagram because you put a pride flag up there. They're like,
lost a fan.
Yeah, what fucking band are you following? What do you think?
It's funny. I saw that Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon had an anniversary, and Pink Floyd posted the picture of Dark Side of the Moon, and they had all these old fucking boomer fans going, just lost a fan. It's like, you fucking idiot, that's the cover of the record from the 70s. It happens to be a rainbow.
See you later, bud.
Yeah, that shit was like, good luck, motherfucker. Good riddance.
No doubt. Getting back to live performances, you guys were did that kind of intimate, a small show last night. All Your Friends Fest we mentioned, but you guys just got back from Europe and did a string of shows in Europe. How did that go?
Great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We played at 2 a.m. for... No, I'm kidding. We headlined a bunch of festivals over there. We also played some side shows in Sweden.
We did.
One in Oslo. Actually, a few German side shows. But yeah, it was great.
It's great.
I mean, we love it over there. And our fans are amazing over there.
They really are. We do. Germany's probably our best country. Outside of Canada, actually. Canada and Germany are sure of our best countries. And it's just great for us. We go there. We're there all the time. And so this was, for us, it's just a pleasure. We get to do our big show. We get to do all of our production and everything else. So that's nice. We just got home and then came to this. So.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. I was like, you guys didn't have much. You guys haven't been. Have you guys even been home yet? You guys went to Europe
for 2 days.
I was going to say
minus the travel day. Yeah, we're still a little jet lagged, but
yeah. And so looking ahead to, you got a couple other festivals. I know the Vans Warped Tour you guys are playing on, and I think a couple other festival dates. But then come the fall, it's kind of the second leg of the Rise of the Roach tour, right? So talk to me about how that's been, what it's like playing with the Papa Roach guys.
We've actually known those guys for a long time. We played shows with them over the years, and really sweet guys. Their fan base is different than our Rise Against fan base, but oddly enough, it's been working out. And I just think the family vibe on the tour, you know, when you tour with bands that are you're friends with, that always works out. But definitely two different worlds colliding.
Yeah.
But it's been fun.
Yeah, for sure.
We're doing a whole nother leg. But yeah, we're getting up near you guys. Where I think we're playing Detroit, we're playing Chicago. So yeah, come check it out. But it's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, again, like Barnes said, we've sort of circled them forever, satellited around each other. You know, any touring band, if you've been around for a certain amount of time, you're going to run into each other, and we definitely have. It had been brought up before, and it just the timing worked out this time. And like Barnes said, it's definitely two different crowds. But I think that's what's interesting for us after 25 years. You know, Tim every night says, "This is your first Rise Against show," and the amount of hands that go up just show us kind of like how much work we still have to do. You know, like wow, we've been around forever. We still have a lot of ground to cover, so it's been good.
Right on. So, and speaking of other touring bands, and another band that's been touring with you on that tour is Under Oath, and they're playing tomorrow at All Your Friends Fest. We're actually going to get the chance to chat with them. Like we're chatting with you guys today, we're chatting with them tomorrow. So, what can you say about those guys? I know they've been playing with you before, and they're going to be coming on that Rise of the Roach tour. Again, and I was going to say too, we will be talking to them. So, if it's really negative, it might get back to
those dudes.
Yeah.
No, again, old friend. We did Warped Tour with them in like 1974.
Yeah.
We've known them for a long time.
Warped Tour 65.
Yeah, Warped Tour 1962.
Those are before Woodstock,
nice
right?
dudes. I mean, they're kind of like, you know, from back in that time. So yeah, we've known them for a long time. Again, friends of ours, nice guys.
Perfect. So we've been chatting with Zach and Brandon from Rise Against. They're headlining the opening day of All Your Friends Fest in Burls Creek, Ontario, June 28th, 2025. New record, Ricochet, coming out in August. So stay tuned to riseagainst.com for all the details. Zach, Brandon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.